Welcome to Beyond the Dragon, where we explore indie tabletop role-playing games and their design, to inspire you to play them or take what you like for your own creations. Hi there, my name's Oscar C. Tango.
And my name is Son.
We're both tabletop game designers and professional game masters who love TTRPGs. Today we will be discussing Perilous. Perilous RPG is a fantasy RPG written by Jordan Palmer. The game was published on November 20th of 2020 and uses a D20 while being a Powered by the Apocalypse game, which is somewhat unusual. For those unfamiliar with Powered by the Apocalypse, this is, like I said, this is a bit unusual as the dice mechanic goes. The game costs $25 and is 103 pages in total. Son, what did you think of Perilous from your read-through?
Yeah, I enjoyed Perilous. I, completely going into it blind. I didn't know anything about it. You just told me, hey, let's do this. And you probably told me a little bit beforehand, but completely forgot it. So I just went in blind. And the read was really nice and easy. And I really like how it was set up. Maybe because I've been doing Lumen stuff and some other powered by adjacent stuff, but the tags and the like, I just like how everything was kind of written. It was nice. I enjoyed Paris a lot, and I think I'd probably use it.
That's
What about
fair.
you?
I also liked it. I will tell you, I did not, in fact, know much about this because when I told you about it, I told you it was a Quest derivative. I was super wrong.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, no. But, I really liked what I read. I would love to use it. If I remember correctly, I am, like, halfway through trying to build a Foundry module for this using the custom system builder.
I
So,
see.
yeah. Yep.
Well, that's some dedication. That means you definitely want to use it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Absolutely. But that said, moving on to the main mechanic. Mechanically, like I said, this is a D20 game. It uses modifiers. 15 and above succeeds. 10 to 14 is a success with some kind of a complication, and a 1 to 9 fails, and your maximum modifier is only ever a +6. It also features several kind of tag system to help tell you how a situation works narratively. A character might have something like a shield tag, or an enemy might have an invisible tag, so on and so forth. Character tags, called aspects, add a +2 to your roll when beneficial, and enemy tags are challenges to be overcome, removed when a player succeeds at a roll. The enemy is defeated when all tags are removed. Finally, in non-fighting situations, create tags called openings, which players can use like an aspect as long as they only have a maximum bonus of +6. And some of what I'm saying is sounding a bit familiar, reminding me of OZR.
Fair enough.
But yeah, moving on to our discussion. Son, what was a standout moment for you when you were looking at this game mechanically?
Yeah, so when I was looking at Perilous, the thing that stood out the most above everything else was the kind of sense of community. Adventurers, that is a job in these communities. They go into the dangerous dungeons and environments to help deal with the things and help the community be safe and the like. And it's a lot of the mechanics are tied around it, like healing serious injuries. You need to go back to your community to rest up whenever you introduce a new player character because your previous one died or whatever. You introduce it through one of the members of your community. The community is where you get your jobs from. Communities are more than likely always built into already cleared out dungeons. It's what you're tied to, like the character creator prompts. There's like two questions about it. What do you love about your home? Who misses you while you're off adventuring? And then the jobs that you get from your community. There's a D20 table that you roll to see what these potential jobs are. And then when you come back and come back from your adventure dealing with whatever the community wanted you to deal with, then there are some question prompts on You know, who cared most about what you did and how did it affect them? How did it change the community or the area in general? And, what's the impact on personal relationships? There's a lot in here about the community.
No, yeah, there definitely is. I remember that very much, just reading that and being like, ooh, it's not quite community building, but it is community focused.
Yes, yes. And if anything, you're building the community out through the narrative, and you'll add more details in as you continue playing. But no, like mechanical. Oh, we're going to put a town here. That'll give us a benefit type of thing. Nah.
Yeah, I know, like, mechanical investment in the town so that you can get better things, but so yeah, it makes the community more of a, like, the people rather than the mechanical benefits, which, is certainly very humane.
Yes, yes. So really enjoyed that. What about you?
Uh, I would say the momentum mechanic in moments of action was something that stood out. A natural consequence of failing to roll a 15 plus is that on your turn, your character will have a threat to respond to that they cannot ignore. It's a really cool way to show how not a full success can put you in danger because you wind up losing your momentum.
Yes, yes. I really like that. Yeah, because you know you have a plan, like in just standard traditional combats and all that stuff. You have a plan that you're going to do. You often have your standard way of doing whatever you're going to do. But if you screw up, then you have to focus on this new thing that the guide has brought into the combat. It's like, no, no, you need to devote your attention to this before you can start doing other stuff. And because you're devoting your attention to that, then the other things are going to, start progressing. And so, the tactics in the combat, even though, it's going to be a much less tactical game, um, is really interesting, adding that momentum uh, mechanic in.
Yeah, no, it really is. Uh, just yeah, no, the whole idea of being able to have and use momentum as well as lose momentum really does mean that like you can have moments of really big hype and moments of fuck, we just cannot seem to get our shit together, both of which are very fun narratively.
Yes. And, I like that later on, there is a character ability that I thought was a nice way. People that play tabletop games, Dungeons and Dragons, fourth edition, and all that, you might know of like the warlord and the tactician archetype that a lot of people might think about, where they help their players out and all that. A nice way to just have that kind of archetype in this game is you basically allow one of your teammates to regain their momentum if they lost it, type of thing. And obviously, in this more narrative game, you describe how that momentum is regained back. So I like that.
Yes, and I will say the momentum mechanic for like stopping your action also pairs interestingly with another mechanic, which is an adrenaline mechanic called Edge for activating your special abilities. You gain Edge on a 15 plus, and you lose it when resting, which means the measure of press on because you have a lot of Edge, or just rest and avoid being attacked, which is a good thing because I know in a lot of the times when I play, a lot of groups are like, well, should we just take a rest and be safe? Because, if the GM just chucks enemies at us, we'll just fight them off and it won't be draining enough and then we'll just be able to rest. At this, it's like, no, I want to keep my adrenaline. And I think offering a reward is more effective than providing a punishment for resting when the GM doesn't want you to.
Yes, yes. No, I do like that. You can just keep pushing on, and we're only resting because we're just not in danger, but we're still pushing on, type of thing. It's a serious choice. It's like, no, we are going to camp out now. We're going to lose all our benefits and have to restart, but at least we scrub out those minor injuries, at least. Yeah, definitely a good thing. Um, Then for me, one of the other things Perilous, talks about in like their opening thing is the weird magic and the dungeons,
Yeah.
and the fact that at the end of this book there is 100 entries about different dungeon effects, because in this world of this game, dungeons have their area regions where they have weird and ancient effects, and communities that maybe have cleared out those dungeons, they just, you know they use the effects to their advantage, and have to deal with some of the, maybe bad effects and the like. And this 100 list of dungeon effects gives you a lot of inspiration for how the adventures your player characters may go on, or how the communities might work as well. And it informs the weird magic really well. Like an example, um, a random sense, touch, hearing, sight, smell, or taste, will temporarily disappear from each intruder in this dungeon for as long as they remain in this place. Or another one, an invisible narrator will state everything you are thinking or thinking of doing in real time. So much for sneaking around. So there's some more wacky ones, and there's some more like darker ones and more vague ones, like one where everything buried in here will eventually, at random, come back to life. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and I
What about
will
you?
say, that is actually in my standouts. It's just like it's 10 pages of just magical quirk generator.
Yeah, no, and like, yeah, exactly. Like, just because these are dungeon effects, they don't have to be dungeon effects as well. You can slightly retool them and the like. And this is besides the point, but you could just take this and put it into some other game. Just take those 10 pages. But no, this really helps emphasize what the dungeons should kind of feel like.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And what about you?
As for me, one of the things that I really liked, the wound system in this game really reminds me of a kind of slimmed down version of Forged in the Dark. Minor wounds are a thing, and they go away for after a few moments of rest. Major wounds will take days to heal, and fixing a minor wound does reset your edge. And taking more than 3 of either wound type takes it to the next major wound, uh, and a lasting consequence like scars, shaking confidence, or death. So, you can only take each consequence once per character, which means that this reminds me very much of Forged in the Dark, where beyond taking stress or actual wounds, there is a concept called trauma, and after a certain amount of trauma, your character retires.
Yeah, like it's like a pyramid. You've got 3 spots for little things, scraped ankle and all that, then 2 spots for like bigger things like a broken rib, and then the second tier where I think the third tier where I think it's only one, where I think it is the fatal wound
Yeah.
when you put that in. Yeah, so it's a different way of doing it here. And no, I really enjoy how it's being presented, and as you mentioned, death. But what the listing actually says, your adventure comes to an end, because on the next page, ending your adventure, when you choose that, you can choose to survive, but it means this is your last adventure. You retire, becomes an NPC, and joins the community. And you can talk to them and all that, but they are now an NPC. So I like how even the death mechanic, if you choose to not die, the character just joins the community and ties back into that system there.
Yeah.
Or if you choose to die, this is a heroic sacrifice. You don't just die. You heroically sacrifice yourself and basically clear or, overcome the current encounter, removing all challenges, and really gives the narrative freedom to the player character. How do you do this? So yeah, I really like the wound system and then the finale of the wound system.
Yeah, and that finale is very much like powered. It's very powered by the apocalypse in nature.
Yeah, yeah. Then for me, I like going into the events, which is basically I'm going to call it the quests of what you'll be doing. The community at any given time, the community has a couple events or quests, as I'll call them, and each quest has a deadline. So if you don't complete this quest, um, there once the deadline reaches 0, there will be some kind of consequence. And the events are categorized in 3 different types of ways, and they help determine what the effects might be. If it's a community-based event, then this concerns the whole community. If it's a personal one, it affects an individual or a group of people, small. Or if it's opportunity, they don't have consequences, but they might give something really nice as a reward. And so each time you go out on an adventure, go into a dungeon, go deal with something, and you come back to your community, tick down all deadlines by 1. And if any are at 0, then play out those consequences. And it states, it won't be possible for you to take on every event. So you have to choose where you want to divide your time and who you want to help. So I really like, this kind of open world job board where you've got a couple quests, but you can't do them all. Some are going to fail. What are you going to prioritize for the best of your community? Or maybe, you want to be slightly more selfish and like help out a friend instead. Or maybe you want to go deal with an opportunity and get a big reward. And sure, maybe the bakery is going to blow up because of something, but this big reward will help the whole community later. I really like that.
Yeah, no, the way that events are done are really good, and the fact that you can put several down at once, that your players may not always be able to get to all of them, is really good. And not to mention, yeah, there are friendly events called opportunities with no negative consequences, but like Sun said, are you going to go after an opportunity over helping out, saving the bakery or the town from that zombie plague or the bread coming to life? Who knows?
Yes, exactly.
That's a real personal question. Makes for good drama.
No, yeah, no. And it just ties back into it. There's a lot of community-based drama there. Even like, and that's coming back from the dungeon. You've got the drama that happens in the community, eh, almost in the downtime phase, in more traditional senses, maybe. And then you've got going into the dungeons and dealing with that wacky stuff. So, what about you? Do you have another offering? Or
I do. I have 2 more.
okay, go ahead.
First up, this game does have criticals, both successes and failures. If a critical success or rolling a natural 20, or I actually just have written here on a 20. I don't know if it has to be natural or not. I didn't write 20 plus.
On a roll of a 20.
Okay.
And on a roll of a 1.
Thank you.
So,
yes.
I assume that means natural, but
yeah, no, natural 20 or a natural 1. On a natural 20, you get to make an opening and clear a tag that has been marked. And if you roll a natural 1, the GM, instead of giving you a consequence, lets them throw 2 at you. And there's a helpful card for various consequences of rolls on page 19 that lets you see what you can pick from, or at least give you ideas of what you can make up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
oh,
yep.
Go ahead. No, I've got all mine out of the way. You keep going.
All right, and then the last one is, so these things called aspects that we've been talking about that you get from character creation, they are divided up into gear, skills, magic, and personality. And it's a really good way to build up diverse characters since only one player can take any single aspect, which again, very powered by the apocalypse.
Yes, and these aspects. I don't have the exact description here, but they come from um, aspects are not just like, oh, you're good at this, but aspects is a unique item, unique equipment, what type of magic you use, type of thing. So I like how items are uh, brought into this, at least specific items. What's like special to you, type of thing.
Having a backpack is in fact a special ability in Perilous.
I was gonna bring that up as a standout. I love that's my favorite one.
Oh hell yeah, the backpack is great.
Yeah, basically, the like, do you want to be the shield person? Do you want to be the heavy weapon person? Do you want to be the person with the backpack and it's got a lot of stuff in there? Stuff like that.
And this does mean
That's
that
how you need to
yeah.
think.
And gear monkeys are now super viable because they have aspects on par with your mage blasters and your heavy weapons guy.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have anything else?
No, that is the end of my my discussion topics. I am ready for criticisms if you are.
Yeah. Yep. I'll just throw out a quick one. Couple typos. It's nothing really major, but even the book mentions in like one section that I'll get to later that this is like the first edit, first draft. So there'll be minor rules tweaks as well. But yeah, couple typos. It made me go, wait, hang on. What do you mean by that? But nothing really major. What about you?
No table of contents. This is a 107-page book, and again, I also have seen that the book may have updates that come out. I would really recommend a table of contents sometime in the near or when you finish future, just to be able to reach the parts that you want faster, because with this book as long as it is, I believe when we read it, there hadn't been an update for almost a year. And I don't know how many more updates the author plans, but a table of contents would be not necessarily incredibly difficult to add and incredibly helpful to have.
Hmm. I I just went straight onto the itch page just to check. This was published in November, 24th of November, 2020. And the last update on itch, October the 31st, 2022.
Oh, okay, so
Um,
when we read this, it had been updated a few months ago.
yeah. So, just jumping off that, um, there's no like, right next to the contents page, what you would think is like the, I'm forgetting the word. It's been so long since I've known these phrases, but basically, author credits. Who's the author, the artwork, stuff like that. When was this published? Just a little bit of stuff, like because uh, I don't know who to credit this to just from the PDF. It's just Perilous, and then it's just the game. It's a very minor quibble, but
Yeah, no, true, but I've also seen people talking about, like, no credits for inspiration as well being a thing where it's like, hey, like, what inspired you to make this? What if we want to pursue similar media?
yeah, yeah. It's a small thing, but also if multiple people worked on this, you want to like give credit where it's due, especially with the artwork that's throughout this book.
Yeah, it's very good artwork in this book.
Yeah. Um.
Uh, for mine, there is a mention of magical mishaps for spellcasting, and there isn't like a magical mishap table. It just says that magic has problems. And considering the like length of table that exists for the actual like magical stuff that is just around, a magical mishap table would be super helpful and a good addition.
Yes. Yes. I think that will aid in emphasizing one of the points that this book tries to make with the weird magic,
Yeah,
with
definitely.
a mishap table or something. Because, like, this is a definitely more narrative focused game where the players and the guide are trying to build out what might occur. But I think a mishap table would be very beneficial here, definitely. Um, then I will move on to, leaping off the more narrative game, beyond my knowledge of already running games and those with less prep or guidance, potentially not enough guidance for newer game masters or guides on how to, like really, here is a very rough plan of, how I, the author, might like even just write down on a sticky note of how I might run a dungeon type of thing. I just want to throw out a challenge here, emphasize the dungeon or something. They do give some points on how, some pretty easy points on, hey, if you're new, you want to do this type of thing, but mechanically for like running a dungeon, even in a narrative sense, I don't think there was enough guidance on that. What do you think?
Uh, I'm somewhat inclined to agree. There could have been more direct outline. I would say that I'll agree with me personally. I don't think I would have a problem, but I could see how someone new would be like, well, okay, how do I build like a fair challenge? How do I like write a dungeon from a narrative perspective? Especially if this is your first time coming off of more tactical combat games like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, you would walk straight into this and be like, how do I build an encounter and a dungeon from narrative concepts? And it could be a little bit like,
Yes, and that's where I think this will also kind of be a criticism in a way. I really appreciate when game books provide an example adventure or example text, like example scenario, like a example of play type of stuff. So this could be during the guide, being a guide section, you can actually give an example of how, even just a one-on-one, how this one player goes through a little mini wacky dungeon type of thing in a very narrative sense. You don't have to have any graphs or diagrams or something. It could just be like a little tiny mini story type of thing. And that will probably help ease those more Pathfinder D&D type of players into the theater of the mind and powered by the apocalypse style.
yeah, that is, I would say almost specifically what examples of player designed for and around is
Yeah,
bringing people into the vibe of a game they may not be used to.
yeah. So that might be something to add in there as a way to help ease people in.
Uh,
Um,
I have another one actually.
yeah, go ahead.
If community is meant to be such a big focus, any kind of way to randomly generate new communities that players might come across, or like better ways to help the players and GM design their community, would be very helpful for newer GMs to this. Because like you tell me that there are communities in Weird Dungeons, and I, a guy who wants to run eldritch horror that involves office work, will say, oh yeah, I have a few thousand ideas. But someone who's like, I want to fight the kobolds, might be, okay, so how do I build a community?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Like, I can definitely understand that because what might be a rebuttal as well, just use the dungeon event things and be like, oh, how could that work? But yeah, no, I think another very small, easily could be just a D20 table and just a easier way of building out like the foundations of a community. Here are the three things you need to know, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because I realize that there is definitely, especially since this is powered by the apocalypse, like a place for players to be like, well, we want to be the one who design our community, and 100% let your players do that. That's what Powered by the Apocalypse is all about, is handing over a healthy chunk of narrative impact over to your players, but at the same time, sometimes the GM has to put players in situations, as another fundamental aspect of powered by the apocalypse, so gotta have tools for
It,
that.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like that is definitely a optional modular thing that would be beneficial to some, and others are like, nah, I don't need it, and is perfectly fine with what currently the base book provides. So yeah, I can definitely understand where that would be beneficial. Yeah. Um, Beyond that, I don't really have many more criticisms. Yeah, I think we hit all the points there.
I certainly did. So standouts.
Uh, we brought it up. One of the aspects when you go through the character chapter, I'm just going to skip over the talents and skills, blah, blah, blah. Equipment, the first one, the first column, the first of 6 unique equipments. Backpack. And, what is the aspect you can utilize from this backpack? Use a tool. Whenever you gain one of the aspects, you start with the one of the 3 abilities that you can use it from. You basically spend 1 edge, reveal a mundane tool that could fit in your backpack, and you may only use the aspect use a tool with the tools that you've drawn from your backpack. So basically, you use your edge to be like, oh, I've got this, and now you can use that to help you gain an advantage in whatever situation you are. And you keep the tool with you for the remainder of the adventure. So for that adventure, you're just using your edge to pull stuff out of your backpack. Like, yep, got it. Don't worry. I love it.
Yeah, no, it is, again, like, Equipment Monkey is a super valid and, in fact, good class choice for character design, which is just amazing.
Ooh, thank you for saying class choice because I wanted to actually bring that up. When making your character, there is talents and skills, and you get 6 choices there. Equipment and implements, 6 choices there. Spells and magic, 6 choices there. And then personality and drive, 6 choices there. It tells you when you're creating your character, no 2 characters can have the same aspect. So technically, based off this book, you can have a maximum of 6 players because you each have to choose a single aspect. So one of you will be the backpack person. One of you will have illusion magic, type of thing. So yeah, choosing these aspects is kind of like building out a class in a way.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah.
As for myself, I really like that the rules are up front. The first 25 pages of this book are dedicated purely to the mechanics of the game and nothing else. Love that shit.
Yeah, no, extremely front loaded, but because of how it's written and how the game works, you're just reading along and then you realize, oh, okay, uh, that's all the rules. We're done. Okay, moving on to character creation, I guess, and all that. No, definitely. For me, my next standout is one thing, one page, video explanation. It's a page where it says, some people, maybe it's a bit difficult to learn a new game just from reading through a book. So in the future, we're going to be making some videos to help explain the book. And even says, use the QR code or visit the link below. And there's some space for when the QR code would be there. So it's nice to see that there's some acknowledgement. Hey, we know some people learn games in different ways, and especially in this age where a large majority of people in the D&D sphere or 5e have learned the game just through watching YouTube videos. It's a nice nod to that, where it's like there's different ways of learning the game.
It
So I
is.
like that.
That said, I hope that the author does not neglect the book because there are also a large number of people who cannot learn a new game by watching a YouTube video. And I
Oh, no,
happen to
no,
be
definitely.
on that list.
Yeah, and at the last sentences, that said, everything you need to know is to play is right within these pages and all that stuff. So no, it's not a neglect. Hey, neglect this book. It's a hey, if this is hard, or as a supplement, watch these videos that we will eventually make.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
On my end, just the character creation prompt questions are fantastic. I have rarely seen a more thorough set of character creation prompts in my time playing TTRPGs. Never in an actual TTRPG book have the prompt questions, in my experience, been that good, including the HX questions from Apocalypse World. History is handled very well, but these prompts stood out to me specifically.
Fair enough. Like when I was reading these, um, yeah, no, I also definitely the last two. Um, it made me think of a slight tangent of our first game together.
No,
That I
same.
ran.
I got the same vibes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I remember giving these, at least some of these character prompts to my players that Oscar was a part of. And Oscar even brought it up later that they really stood out to you. And it's like, yeah, no, I collected them through some kind of blog, some YouTube channel where, these were very pointed questions that really stick out. And it's nice to see that they're in this book. And I think it works really well for this type of book, this type of game.
I think, honestly, in general, like, thorough character creation prompt questions are just the shit.
Hmm. And especially with um, without actually playing it, with a system that, you're not going to die in the first adventure, making you really think about your character and how they fit into your community and all that stuff and how they fit with your group
It
will make
forces
their final
buy-in.
sacrifice so much better.
Yeah, no, and it forces buy-in, which, I mean, optimally, you don't have to force buy-in. Realistically, sometimes players need to be given a fucking reason why they care, because otherwise they won't.
There's multiple different stages of buy-in. Okay, I'll play the game. Okay, I'll create my own character. Okay, I'll fill in the non-mechanical bits.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll make a character with the group and link it to the group. Yeah. Okay, I'll connect my character to the world. Sure. And it goes through all these points. So that's nice.
it is. What about you? Do you have any more standouts?
Yeah, I'll go to the unique list of magic items. I really like that as far as I can remember. Yeah, it's a small list and meant to be like a inspiration for you to jump off from there. But they're generally quite unique. Like I've not really seen this in a standard list of magic items in other games, really. Um, and my favorite one is the bottled cloud, where it's like a circular sphere with a little pink cloud in it, and you can basically use it like an escape rope or escape orb from the Pokemon or Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series games, where if you're in a dungeon that you've explored before, you can use the pink cloud to take you back to the entrance of the dungeon. But because of some obscure laws, it refuses to carry you when you're not in a dungeon. I like it. It's a little tiny roguelike item uh, that they've just brought into this game, and because it's weird magic. Cloud says no. You can only use me as an escape rope.
Hell yeah.
That's my last one.
Oh, that's your last one? I have two more then. Leveling up through goals really stood out to me. As someone who's recently been playing a lot of Chronicles of Darkness, I've really come to like aspirations as a concept where you write a long term goal and two short term goals in the book. Because my group's campaigns run insanely long and we do group beats, we get three short terms and two longs. It's not that important. But the idea of having a player goal that they complete to level up is very similar, and I like it. It again brings more buy-in.
Yes, yes. Very narrative, and this is the best way to do milestones, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's a milestone of, hey, did you clearly fucking like do this thing that you wanted to? Yeah, great, get it.
That you wanted to do, not the game master saying, "Congratulations, you've finished this story arc. You've defeated this boss." No, did overcome your greatest fear, through force? Good job. You've completed one of your goals.
It's the level o'clock. Do you know where your aspirations are?
Yeah. And then there's like a second stage to that where you eventually can choose a legendary advancement once you've completed all your goals or something else. And then you can basically become like uh, a demigod. You can increase your talents that you can just uh, use one of your aspects in any way. Like, because you use your aspect to gain a modifier to your role if it makes sense for the situation. But this one is like, no, you're just so good now. You can use your shield to overcome any challenge somehow. Or,
Look,
you
if you
gain
aren't
mighty
blocking
reputation.
fire with the shield bow, you're playing the meta wrong.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you can gain reputation, or you can literally create an artifact um, through sheer force of will. So yeah, there's like some end game advancements there.
There are, yes.
What about your last one?
My last one is that the table for making events gives both themes, prompts, and deadlines, which is really great for any length of adventure you might want to run with your friends.
Yes, uh, nice and simple. Just tells you what the effect is, the deadline, and then straight away opens up with a problem and some questions and all that stuff. It's really good.
It is.
And no, I'll bring it up later. I'll throw in just a little one. The fact that tags are used a lot in this game. Character tags are aspects, enemy tags are challenges. Advantages, just openings. And it's just uh, it's and the narrative mechanic of um no, it's a mechanic that's very narrative. It's just a word that you decide as a group and as the guide. Does it make sense in this situation to get a modifier, or what does this challenge mean? Fiery breath, invisibility, and all that stuff. So how does that affect the situation? Or the opening, distracted, slick floor. Does that help in this situation? Does it hinder this situation? I really like tags, and um, I don't know when I started seeing them, but ever since I've been seeing them, I really like its implementation in basically any game I see.
Yeah, no, it is great.
Yeah.
Uh, I am out of standouts. If you have more, feel free to continue.
No, I'm all good.
Alrighty, well then, shall we discuss hacking this game?
Yeah. So, hacking things that make me excited about this, or inspired. This game. Going into it quite blind. It was nice inspiration and kind of research as a person that also has a game that is about somewhat loose, maybe heavy mechanics wise dungeon crawling game with a community, but taken in a very different way. Uh, the fact that there were tags in it, Lumen, has tags, type of thing, and all that stuff. And so it was really nice seeing how someone else made a game that was kind of adjacent to what I was doing, but very different ways of doing things and different focuses on different things. It was just something that stood out to me, and yeah, I'll definitely uh, at least have this in my back pocket and reread it again, just thinking about it for my game.
Yeah, no, definitely. On my end, I've been through no like intentional action of my own. I have been reading a lot of classless, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Classless powered by the apocalypse games. Again, this isn't like an intentional thing that I'm doing. It just keeps happening lately. Don't know why. So this has been really interesting reading to think about for my own classless powered by the apocalypse game, Peasant RPG, coming out never probably.
Yeah.
But no, like I would do something different than aspects, but the concept of aspects kind of got me going on a concept of a rather than having a stat bonus, just having a bonus to rolls. I think I would still prefer the 2d6 method because the bell curve bonus math is a little bit preferable for me personally. But I say this as someone who sits there and argues about the mathematical benefits of certain dice rolls. So, you know.
Yeah, I keep it more base level. Do I want a bell curve? Do I not? And do I like the dice? D8, D4, hell yeah. D12, hell yeah.
Oh no, I'm definitely a do I like the dice kind of guy, but I will sit there and argue with people that great axe is better than a great sword because you're more likely to roll higher damage values.
Oh, sure, but that's at best base level. I'll go with it. It's just because you're rolling two dice. But yeah, beyond that, but fair enough.
No, yeah, but I find the 7 to 9, 10 plus with the like statistical odds of rolling a 7 or higher on just your core dice before a bonus to be a more narratively interesting mechanic. That's not even like a criticism of how Perilous does its thing. I think it uses a d20 very well. I'm just like that pedantic math asshole. It's technically speaking with Perilous, if you have a full +6, you have an over 50% chance to succeed at any roll with a 15. So, that's actually pretty impressive versus, I believe, like the max of nearly +3. You have if you can get a +3 to any roll you're doing in a 2d6 plus stat powered by the Apocalypse game, your statistical odds of success come somewhere in the like 60% range. I'd have to relook at the percent tables for 2d6, but whatever.
Yeah, need to go on anydice.com for that.
This isn't something that I'm going to sit here and bore people with. But the way that specifically aspects work inspired me quite a bit. I will say also the way that challenge tags work remind me a bit of nested progress bars, which could potentially create a rather interesting mega dungeon where sections of the dungeon open or change based on how many like challenges like a room has challenges. Number of challenges readed ticks towards a progress bar. Certain portions of the progress bar introduce new threats, remove old threats, or otherwise introduce new areas of the dungeon or change aspects of the dungeon, including its magic, allowing for you to build a flowing and interesting mega dungeon if you want to add in some randomization tables. I won't do it, but you can.
Yeah, like using another powered by Forge in the Dark adjacent game and some of their systems, which was Cyberpunk, right?
Yep,
The
Cyber
nested,
plus
yeah,
Punk.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
We have to put the
Um,
plus in there so people don't think we're talking about Red or 2020.
that's true. That's true. But they would also be very confused. Cyberpunk Red's a Fortune Dark game. Okay. But yeah. No, yeah, no, definitely. Because of the mechanics, this is why a lot of people like going into OSL, going into Powered By, because of the mechanics are generally consistent, or there is at least a same design vibe. You can usually port over mechanics quite simply. So yeah, easily could be looking at some Fortune the Dark games for that. Um, but also that that might that's definitely making like a perilous advanced version for dungeon crawling.
Advanced tips and tricks for new GMs who want to try Perilous as their first RPG. Create randomization tables for dungeon rooms and magic types, as well as enemy sets that you then put on a nested progress bar for certain either challenges, and a challenge being not just like a challenge in a room, but like an adventure worth end cap, or challenges in rooms if that's how you want to do it on a progress bar, and just tick that off and introduce new stuff, and you'll have a very interesting flowing dungeons that your players will feel like grows with them.
Mm, mm.
There you go. There's a fun tip and trick. I apologize
Yeah, no,
for speaking with the cadence and rate that I do. As I'm saying this, I'm literally going stock still as I am fucking thinking about this mechanic. It has consumed my soul, and it has possessed me to spread its words into the future.
I see. Um, since this game, in a way, is very similar to what I'm making, I really like the community events type of thing. And for my own game, Grit, with the downtime section to emphasize the base camp turns, basically, or here in Perilous Community. There was going to be basically seasonal events for each season. There'd be a slightly different table, really, or the same table, but you roll on it to see what potential things occur this season. And that could be a way you change up or alter, how the community events could occur. In a very narrative sense, you could just have a table or for each different season, and they could just be themes or something on what potentially could be happening, especially with this weird magic. Maybe the seasons are kind of magically infused. So one of the events that is dealing with, hey, the community over has an issue, but their adventurers can't deal with it. What's going on? Because it's this season, maybe the themes are, birds and fire. That might help influence your answers to those questions. And, that allows the D20 table to be, used a lot more without, you yourself trying to think of it. Yeah,
Yeah, no, definitely, that tracks.
yeah. Uh,
And
anything else?
I mean, not particularly. Again, as usual, I would simply say that I highly recommend picking up Perilous if you want a classless, open-ended, narrative-style RPG, and if you are the kind of person who is looking to go outside of Dungeons and Dragons and want to stick to fantasy, this might be a great way to at least get into the vibe of Powered by the Apocalypse, because while it is not mechanically traditional, it is spiritually very much in line with the traditions of Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Yeah. For me, like, if you want to go traditional fantasy and still want to do dungeon crawling, but you want to shrug off a lot of the mechanics and yes, lean into Power by Apocalypse. Yes, I also agree that this is a great way of getting into that sphere and really, if you want to be a bunch of characters that care about each other, teamwork and all that. You know, you 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 make a character and want to go on this type of adventure and interact with a lot of these people in the community and really make your character look cool in how they overcome these sorts of situations and really come up with creative ways of how you dealt with this situation. This is a nice way to do it. I think Perilous is a great way to get into that sphere without being bogged down by all those mechanics where you're like, ah, shit, actually, I can't really do that. I'm just flavoring what I do.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that was Perilous RPG, everyone. So, with all of that said and done, uh, I would like to thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Dragon as we discussed Perilous RPG. Please return for more tabletop discussion and design. I've been Oscar C. Tango, and joining me has been Sun Gone.
You can find me at sun underscore on Twitter, sun on Start Playing Games, and sungone on itch.io.
And you can find me at Stranded TTRPG on Twitter, Oscar C. Tango on SPG, or sorry, startplaying.games, and Stranded Publishing on itch.io. And you can find all of those links in the description. And remember, don't be afraid to adventure beyond the dragon.